Danny Cole was fixing his water pipes when he heard something fall behind the storage tanks. The sun was going down over the plains of 442B, painting everything in shades of orange and red. Danny had lived alone on this frontier farm for 3 years now, ever since his wife Emma passed away from the sickness that swept through the colony. He liked the quiet. He liked being far from other people. But the sound he just heard was not quiet at all. He put down his tools and walked slowly toward the tanks. His boots crunched on the dry ground. The wind carried strange smells tonight, something metallic mixed with the usual dust of the plains. Danny rounded the corner of the largest tank and stopped. There was a creature lying on the ground. It was shaped like a person, but it was clearly not human. Its skin was pale blue, almost like the sky before a storm. It had 4 fingers on each hand instead of 5. Its face was marked with patterns that looked like tattoos, swirling lines of darker blue that covered its cheeks and forehead. The creature was breathing hard and fast. There was blood on its side, dark purple blood that pooled on the dirt beneath it. Danny did not move for a long moment. He had heard rumors that strange beings had been spotted in the wilderness beyond the colony borders. Some farmers claimed to have seen large animals moving across the plains at night. The colonial government said it was just wildlife, nothing to worry about. But this was not wildlife. This was a person of some kind, and it was hurt. The creature opened its eyes. They were large and golden, with pupils that narrowed to slits like a cat. When it saw Danny standing there, it tried to move away. It pushed itself backward with its hands, leaving a trail of purple blood on the ground. But it was too weak. It collapsed after moving only a few feet. A sound came from its throat, something between a whimper and a growl. Danny held up his hands to show he meant no harm. He took a step back to give the creature space. It watched him with those golden eyes, and Danny could see the fear in them. He could also see something else. The creature kept looking past him toward the water tanks. Its mouth was open and its breathing was ragged. It was thirsty, desperately thirsty. Danny thought about what he should do. The smart thing would be to go back to his house, lock the door, and call the colonial patrol. Let the soldiers handle this. He did not know what this creature was or where it came from. He did not know if it was dangerous. He did not know anything at all. But he knew what it felt like to be hurt and alone. He knew what it felt like to need help when no help was coming. And he knew that this creature was looking at his water the way Emma had looked at medicine in those final days, with desperate hope and fatting strength. Danny walked to the tank and filled a container with clean water. The creature watched him, its body tense, ready to try to run again even though it clearly could not. Danny approached slowly. He knelt down about 6 feet away from the creature and placed the container on the ground. Then he pushed it forward gently and backed away. The creature stared at the water. It looked at Danny. It looked at the water again. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the creature reached out with a trembling hand and pulled the container close. It drank like someone who had not had water in days, gulping and gasping and spilling some down its chin. When the container was empty, the creature clutched it against its chest and made a sound that Danny thought might be crying. Danny went back to the tank and filled the container again. This time the creature did not flinch when he approached. It drank the second container more slowly, watching Danny the whole time. When it finished, it said something in a language Danny could not understand. The words were soft and musical, nothing like any human language he had ever heard. Danny pointed to the wound on the creature's side. The bleeding had slowed, but it still looked bad. He mimed wrapping something around it, then pointed toward his house. The creature followed his gestures with intelligent eyes. It seemed to understand what he was offering. After a moment, it nodded. The gesture was so human that Danny felt something shift in his chest. He helped the creature stand. It was lighter than he expected and taller than him by several inches. It leaned on him heavily as they walked toward the farmhouse. Every few steps it would make a small sound of pain, but it kept moving. Danny could feel its heart beating through its thin clothing, fast and frightened. Inside the house, Danny guided the creature to his bed and helped it lie down. He gathered his medical supplies, basic things that every frontier farmer kept on hand: bandages, antiseptic, painkillers. He did not know if any of this would work on an alien body, but he had to try. The creature let him examine the wound. It was a cut of some kind, deep and ragged, as if something with claws had torn through the flesh. Danny cleaned it as gently as he could. The creature gripped the tight but did not cry out. When Danny wrapped the bandage around its torso, the creature looked at him with an expression he could not read. It touched its chest with one hand and made a sound. It repeated the sound twice more, and Danny realized it was telling him its name. Something like, with a soft sound at the end that human throats probably could not make. Danny pointed to himself. "Danny," he said. The creature repeated it carefully. "Dan." Its voice was strange, layered somehow, as if two people were speaking at once, but the word was clear. Danny brought more water and some food. The creature drank but did not eat. It watched Danny as he pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down. Outside, the last light of the sun disappeared below the horizon. The stars came out, thousands of them, more than anyone could ever see from Earth. The creature closed its eyes. Its breathing became slower and deeper. Danny sat in his chair and watched it sleep. He thought about calling the patrol. He thought about all the trouble he might be getting himself into. He thought about Emma and how she always said that kindness was never wrong, even when it was hard. He did not call anyone. He sat there through the night, watching over a stranger from the stars, wondering what tomorrow would bring. Whatever happened next, he knew one thing for certain. He could not have left that creature to die of thirst in the dirt behind his water tanks. That was not who he was. That was not who Emma would have wanted him to be. The night passed slowly. Somewhere in the darkness, far across the plains, something howled at the moons. Danny listened to the sound and wondered if more creatures like were out there. He wondered where they came from and why they were here. He wondered if he had just made the best decision of his life or the worst. But mostly he just sat and kept watch, because that was what you did when someone was hurt and scared and far from home. You stayed with them. You let them know they were not alone. And you hoped that somehow everything would be okay. Danny woke up in his chair with sunlight on his face. For a moment he forgot what had happened. Then he saw the creature sitting up in his bed, watching him with those golden eyes, and everything came back. Looked stronger than the night before. The fear in her eyes had faded, replaced by something that looked like curiosity. She was studying Danny the same way he had been studying her, taking in every detail of this strange being who had helped her without asking for anything in return. Danny stood up slowly, his back aching from sleeping in the chair. He raised his hand in a small wave. "Good morning," he said. Tilted her head at the words. She touched her chest the way she had done the night before, repeating the sound of her name. Then she pointed at Danny with one long finger. "Danny," he said again. "Dan," she repeated. Her voice was clearer now, less strained. She almost smiled, if the expression on her face could be called a smile. The corners of her mouth turned up slightly and her eyes became warmer. Danny went to the kitchen and brought back water and some bread. Drank the water eagerly but looked at the bread with confusion. She sniffed it, touched it with her tongue, and set it aside with a small shake of her head. Danny figured her people probably ate different things. He would have to find something she could eat eventually. The morning passed in a strange kind of dance. Danny would point at things and say their names. Chair, table, window, water. Would repeat the words in her layered voice, sometimes getting them right, sometimes making sounds that were not quite human. She learned fast. By midday she could say more than 20 words, and she was starting to put them together. "Water good," she said, holding up her empty cup. "Danny good." Danny felt his face grow warm. He refilled her cup and watched her drink. There was something graceful about the way she moved, something that reminded him of dancers or birds. Even injured and tired, she carried herself with a kind of dignity that he admired. He pointed at her wound and raised his eyebrows in a question. pulled up the edge of her shirt to show him the bandage. The bleeding had stopped completely. When Danny carefully removed the bandage to check the injury, he was amazed to see that it was already healing. The edges of the cut had closed together and new skin was forming over the wound. Whatever was, her people healed much faster than humans did. Said something in her own language, then switched to the few English words she knew. My people, strong, heal fast. She touched the healing wound and then touched Danny's hand. You help, thank. Danny nodded, you're welcome. Tried to repeat the phrase, but gave up after a few attempts. Instead, she simply squeezed his hand once and let go. As the day continued, Danny started to learn things about beyond just words. He learned that she was female, which he had not been sure about before. She made him understand through gestures that she had family somewhere, many family members who were probably looking for her. She pointed toward the horizon again and again, making shapes with her hands that suggested a group of people traveling together. Danny asked her, using simple words and many gestures, what had hurt her. His face became dark. She drew in the dirt on Danny's floor, showing him a creature with many legs and sharp teeth. She mimed it attacking her, showed how she had run away, indicated that she had traveled far before collapsing near his farm. The creature that hurt her was still out there somewhere. Her people had been hunting it. Around afternoon, showed Danny something that changed his understanding of everything. She reached into a hidden pocket in her clothing and pulled out a small device. It was round and flat, made of a metal that shimmered with colors Danny had never seen before. She held it up so he could see it, then pressed something on its surface. The device pulsed with light, once, twice, 3 times, then it went dark. Pointed at the device, then at the horizon, then held up one finger. Tomorrow, she said. It was a word Danny had taught her just an hour ago. My people, come, tomorrow. Danny felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at the device, then at, your people are coming here, tomorrow. Nodded, she could see the concern on his face. She placed her hand on his arm the same way she had touched his hand earlier. Good, she said firmly. They come, good, you help me, they know, good. Danny was not so sure about that. He had no idea how these aliens would react to finding one of their own in a human home. He had no idea if they were peaceful or dangerous. He had no idea what he had gotten himself into by helping this wounded stranger. But there was something in his eyes that made him want to trust her. She was not afraid of her people coming. She was relieved. Whatever was going to happen tomorrow, she believed it would be good. As the sun began to set again, told Danny more about her people using their limited shared vocabulary. She called them They were travelers, she said, always moving from place to place. They had come to this world recently, though Danny could not figure out how. She made gestures that suggested flying through the sky, traveling among the stars. They were proud people, she told him. They valued strength and honor and loyalty, and they valued water above almost everything else. Their home, wherever it was, did not have much water. To them, water was not just something you drank. It was something sacred, something precious, something that meant life itself. When Danny had given water to, he had done something with deep meaning and culture. He had offered life to a stranger without knowing anything about her. He had shared his most precious resource with someone who might have been an enemy. In the eyes of her people, this was the greatest act of trust and generosity possible. Looked at Danny with something like wonder in her golden eyes. You give water, she said slowly, choosing her words with care. You not know me. You not know my people. You give anyway. This is big, very big. My people will know. My people will remember. Danny did not know what to say. He had just done what seemed right. He had not thought about what it might mean to an alien culture he knew nothing about. He had just seen someone who needed help and he had helped them. But looking at now, seeing the emotion in her strange and beautiful face, he understood that his simple act of kindness had set something in motion, something important, something that could not be taken back. The night came again, was strong enough now to walk around the small farmhouse. She looked at Danny's few possessions with curiosity, touching things gently, asking questions with her eyes that he tried to answer with gestures and simple words. She stopped in front of a photograph on the wall. It showed Danny and Emma on their wedding day, both of them smiling, both of them young and full of hope. Pointed at Emma and looked at Danny with a question in her eyes. "My wife," Danny said. His voice was quiet. "Emma, she died 3 years ago." Did not understand all the words, but she understood enough. She placed her hand over her heart and bowed her head slightly. It was a gesture of respect, Danny realized, a gesture of sympathy. They stood there together in the fading light, two strangers from different worlds, connected by simple acts of kindness and understanding. Tomorrow everything might change. Tomorrow the would come. But tonight, in this small farmhouse on the edge of human territory, something new was beginning. Danny looked out the window at the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, people were moving toward them. He did not know what they would bring. He did not know what they would want. But he knew that he had done the right thing by helping. Whatever came next, he would face it knowing that. Came to stand beside him at the window. "Tomorrow," she said softly. "Tomorrow," Danny agreed. They watched the stars come out together, waiting for the dawn that would change everything. Danny woke before dawn to a sound like distant thunder. He sat up in his chair, his heart pounding, and listened. The sound came again, a deep rumbling that seemed to shake the floor beneath his feet. But when he looked out the window, the sky was clear. There were no storm clouds anywhere. Was already awake. She stood by the door, her body tense, her golden eyes bright with emotion. When she saw Danny looking at her, she nodded once. "They come," she said. "My people, they come now." Danny walked to the window and looked toward the horizon. The first light of morning was spreading across the plains, turning the sky from black to gray to pale pink. And there, moving across the open land like a wave, was something that made Danny forget how to breathe. There were dozens of them, maybe more than 100. Riders sat atop massive creatures that looked like tigers from Earth, but wrong somehow. These animals were the size of horses, with 6 powerful legs instead of 4. Their fur was striped in patterns of gold and black, and their eyes glowed with an intelligence that no Earth animal had ever possessed. They moved together with perfect coordination, their huge paws striking the ground in unison, creating the thunder that Danny had heard. The riders wore armor that gleamed in the early light. They carried long spears and curved blades. Banners flew above them, marked with symbols that Danny could not read, but that seemed to pulse with meaning. The whole procession moved with a purpose and power that made Danny feel very small and very alone. Opened the door and stepped outside. Danny followed her, not sure what else to do. The cool morning air hit his face as he stood beside her on his porch, watching the army of aliens approach his tiny farm. The riders stopped at the edge of Danny's property. The tiger creatures growled low in their throats, a sound that Danny felt in his chest more than heard with his ears. For a long moment, nothing moved. They stared at Danny and Danny stared back, his mouth dry, his hands shaking at his sides. Then one rider came forward. He was larger than the others, his armor more elaborate, his bearing more commanding. His tiger creature was bigger too, with scars on its muzzle that spoke of many battles. The rider dismounted in one smooth motion and walked toward Danny and stepped forward to meet him. They spoke quickly in the language, their voices rising and falling in a conversation that Danny could not follow. The large kept looking at Danny as they talked, his golden eyes measuring and assessing. Danny stood his ground and tried not to look as terrified as he felt. Finally turned to Danny. Her face was calm, but her eyes were shining with something he had not seen before. "This is my father," she said carefully. "He leads our people. He is chief." Danny looked at the imposing figure before him. He had saved the daughter of a chief. The daughter of a king, maybe. No wonder her signal had brought so many riders. The chief studied Danny for another long moment. Then, slowly, he lowered himself to one knee. He placed his right hand over his heart and bowed his head. Behind him, the entire tribe followed. Every rider dismounted. Every knelt in the dirt, their heads bowed, their hands over their hearts. Even the great tiger creatures lowered themselves to the ground. The only ones still standing were Danny and Danny did not know what to say. He did not know what to do. He stood there, frozen, while an alien army knelt before him like he was something more than a lonely farmer on a frontier world. Touched his arm. "You give water to stranger," she said, her voice soft. "You give life. This is highest honor. My people kneel to honor you. My father kneels to thank you for saving his daughter." The chief rose to his feet and spoke again. His voice was deep and commanding, but not threatening, translated as best she could. He says to remember those who helped them. He says a debt is owed that must be paid. He says you are now friend to our people, and friends of thee are protected forever. Danny shook his head. "I do not need payment. I did not help for a reward. I helped her because she needed help." When translated this, the chief's eyes widened. He spoke rapidly too, then to the assembled tribe. A murmur went through the crowd, a sound of surprise and something like awe. "My father says this makes the debt greater, not smaller," explained. "To help without wanting reward is the form of kindness. The do not forget such things, ever." The chief gestured toward the waiting tribe. A group of riders parted to let someone through. A young female walked forward, leading one of the great tiger creatures by a rope made of braided leather. She was beautiful in the way that was beautiful, with the same blue skin and golden eyes. Her face was painted with ceremonial markings, intricate patterns in silver and gold that caught the light as she moved. She stopped before Danny and bowed her head. The tiger creature beside her knelt down, lowering itself until its great head was level with Danny's chest. His voice was quiet now. "This is tradition of my people. When a life is saved, a life is given in return. This is daughter of our finest warrior. She is offered to you as bride to join your family to ours, to seal the bond between our peoples forever." Danny felt the world spin around him. He looked at the young woman before him, at the assembled tribe, and her father. Everyone was watching him, waiting for his response. "I cannot accept this," Danny said. "I am honored truly, but I cannot take a bride as payment for helping someone. That is not how my people do things." His face fell. She spoke to her father in urgent tones. The chief's expression became troubled. The murmuring in the crowd took on a different tone, worried rather than awed. "If you refuse," said slowly, "my father will be shamed, our people will be shamed. To refuse the gift is to say the debt is too small to matter. It is great insult. Please, Danny, please understand, this is not payment. This is honor. This is family." Danny looked at. She was watching him with careful eyes, her expression unreadable. She seemed as uncertain as he was, standing there in her ceremonial paint, offered to a stranger from another world. Then she spoke. Her voice was lighter than, younger somehow, but she spoke in English. The word was accented heavily, but it was clear. "Hello." Danny stared at her in surprise. "You speak English?" Nodded slowly. "I learn small words. We watch your people, learn your ways. I chosen to be bridge between worlds if time comes." She paused, seeming to search for the right words. "I not ask for this, you not ask for this, but here we are. Maybe we find way together." There was something in her eyes that Danny recognized. It was the same uncertainty he felt, the same confusion, the same fear of the unknown. She was not just a gift or a symbol. She was a person, as lost and overwhelmed as he was. Danny took a deep breath. He thought about Emma, about what she would say if she could see him now. He thought about all the years he had spent alone, pushing people away, hiding from the world. He thought about a cup of water given to a stranger, and how that simple act had led to this impossible moment. "Okay," he said finally. "I will accept, but not as payment, as friendship, as alliance. We learn together, we build together," agreed. Translated his words. The chief's face broke into a wide smile. He stepped forward and clasped Danny's shoulders with both hands, speaking words that Danny did not need translated. Gratitude, respect, welcome. The tribe began to cheer, a strange sound that was half song and half roar. The tiger creatures threw back their heads and added their voices to the celebration. Danny stood in the middle of it all, still not quite believing what was happening, still not quite understanding how a cup of water had changed his life forever. Moved to stand beside him, she did not touch him, but her presence was warm and solid. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I try to be good bridge, good friend. We learn, yes." Danny nodded. "Yes, we learn." The sun rose higher over the plains, casting long shadows across the gathered and their great beasts. A new day had begun, and with it, something that neither humans nor aliens could have predicted. An alliance born from kindness, a family made from strangers, a future that started with a simple act of mercy in the dusty evening light. They made camp around Danny's farm. Within hours, the empty plains had become a small city of tents and banners. The great tiger creatures which called rested in the shade of temporary shelters. Children ran between the tents, their blue skin flashing in the sunlight, their laughter sounding almost human. Danny watched it all from his porch with beside him. She had stayed close since the ceremony, answering his questions as best she could with her limited English. He learned more about her people in that first afternoon than he had learned about anything in years. There were nomads, explained. They had wandered the stars for generations, never staying in one place for long. Their home world had been destroyed by an enemy called a species that consumed entire planets and left nothing behind. They had escaped, but only barely. They had been searching for a new home ever since, moving from world to world, never finding a place where they could stay. "We find this world 6 months ago," said. "Good water, good land, maybe good for staying, we think, but we not know if your people want us here. We watch, we learn, we wait." "And then was injured," Danny said. Nodded. "She was hunting the beast that hurt her. She tracked it far from our camp. It attacked her. She ran. She found your farm." Looked at Danny with those golden eyes. "She found you." Danny thought about all the things that had to happen for to collapse near his water tanks. If she had fallen anywhere else on the vast plains, she would have died. If Danny had not been outside fixing his pipes at that exact moment, he might not have found her until it was too late. It seemed like fate if he believed in such things. "Why me?" Danny asked. "I mean for the bride tradition, why give to a stranger?" His expression became serious. In old times, bride tradition was for making peace between tribes that fought. Two families become one family. No more fighting. Now my father uses it to make peace between peoples. Human, and if we are family, we cannot be enemies. "That is actually very smart," Danny admitted. Almost smiled. "My father is wise leader. He wants good future for our people. He thinks humans might help us find home. He thinks maybe we help you too." Before Danny could respond, a new sound broke through the noise of the camp. It was a harsh mechanical roar, completely different from anything they had brought with them. Danny looked up and saw a patrol vehicle approaching from the south, kicking up dust as it raced across the plains. The reaction in the camp was immediate. Warriors grabbed their weapons and moved toward the perimeter. They rose to their feet, their growls filling the air. Children were hustled into tents. Within seconds, the peaceful camp had become a fortress ready for battle. Danny jumped off the porch and ran toward the approaching vehicle. "Wait!" he shouted. "Everyone wait!" The patrol vehicle stopped about 50 meters from the camp's edge. Two soldiers climbed out, their weapons raised. Danny recognized the insignia on their uniforms. They were from the colonial garrison, the peacekeeping force that protected human settlements on 442B. One of the soldiers was a woman with short dark hair and hard eyes. She stepped forward, her rifle pointed at the warriors. "What the hell is going on here?" she demanded. "We got reports of an alien army moving through this sector. "Cole, is that you? Are you a hostage?" "No," Danny raised his hands and walked toward her slowly. "Lieutenant, please lower your weapons. These people are not hostile. They came here peacefully." Peacefully? The lieutenant looked at the armed warriors, the growling beasts, the sea of blue faces watching her with careful eyes. "This looks like an invasion force to me." "It is not, I promise you. Please just let me explain." The lieutenant hesitated. Behind her, the other soldier kept his weapon raised. Behind Danny, the waited intense silence had followed Danny, and she stood nearby, watching the confrontation with fear in her eyes. Danny told the story as quickly as he could. He told the lieutenant about finding injured and alone. He told her about giving water to the wounded alien, not knowing what would happen. He told her about the bride tradition and the alliance that they were offering. The lieutenant listened with a face that showed no emotion. When Danny finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You're telling me that you gave an alien a drink of water, and now they want to marry you to one of their own as thanks." "It sounds crazy when you say it like that," Danny admitted. "But yes, that is what happened." "This is insane, Cole. You have no authority to make alliances with alien species. You have no idea what these creatures really want. For all you know, this is some kind of trap." "It is not a trap," stepped forward, her voice firm despite her fear. "My people come in peace. We offer friendship. We offer alliance. We want only place to live, place to raise our children, place to call home." The lieutenant turned her hard eyes on. "You speak English." I learn because I hope someday to talk with your people, to make them understand. We are not enemies. We can be friends if you let us." Another vehicle appeared on the horizon, then another. More soldiers were coming. The warriors tightened their grips on their weapons. They growled louder. Danny felt the situation slipping toward violence. "Lieutenant," he said desperately, "these people have been wandering the stars for generations because their home was destroyed. They are refugees. They came here hopping to find a new home. Is that really so different from why our ancestors came to this world?" The lieutenant paused. Something flickered in her eyes, a crack in her hard expression. "They helped me too," Danny continued. "When I was alone and grieving after my wife died, everyone in the colony gave up on me. But these people, these aliens I knew nothing about, they saw value in a simple act of kindness. They crossed the plains to thank me, to honor me. Is that the behavior of enemies?" The other vehicles arrived. More soldiers climbed out, weapons ready. But the lieutenant held up her hand, stopping them from advancing. "I need to report this to Colonial Command," she said finally. "They will decide what happens next. But for now, everyone stands down. No one fires unless fired upon. Understood?" The soldiers lowered their weapons slightly. Danny turned too and nodded. She called out something in the language, and the warriors relaxed their stances. They stopped growling and lay back down. The lieutenant looked at Danny with an expression he could not quite read. "You really believe these aliens mean us no harm?" "I do," Danny said. "I have seen how they treat each other. I have seen how they treat me. They are honorable people. They keep their word. And right now they are more scared of us than we are of them." "Scared of us? They have an army. They have everyone they have left. Their whole tribe is here because they have nowhere else to go. This is not an invasion force. This is a family looking for a home." The lieutenant was quiet for a long moment. Then she holstered her weapon. "I will tell command what you said. I will tell them that you vouch for these people and that they came in peace. What happens after that is not up to me." She turned and walked back to her vehicle. The other soldiers followed, casting suspicious glances at them as they went. Within minutes, the patrol was heading back toward the colony, leaving Danny and standing alone between two worlds. Let out a long breath. "That was very close," she said. "Yes," Danny agreed, "it was. You spoke for us. You defended us to your own people. Why?" Danny looked at her, at the painted markings on her face, at the fear that still lingered in her golden eyes. Because it was the right thing to do. Because your people deserve a chance. Because maybe, just maybe, humans and can build something good together. Was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and took Danny's hand in hers. Her 4 fingers wrapped around his 5, strange and unfamiliar but somehow right. "Thank you, Dan," she said softly. "You are good human, maybe the best human we could have found." Danny squeezed her hand gently. Behind them, the camp was returning to normal. Children emerged from tents. Warriors put down their weapons. They yawned and stretched in the afternoon sun. The crisis had passed, but Danny knew this was just the beginning. The colonial government would want answers. They would want assurances. They might not be as willing to listen as the lieutenant had been. But for now, in this moment, there was peace, and that would have to be enough. The weeks that followed were the strangest of Danny's life. He became something he had never expected to be. He became a diplomat. Every day, officials from the colonial government came to his farm to talk with them. Every day, Danny sat with them, translating words and meanings, explaining customs and traditions, trying to build bridges across the vast gulf between 2 species that had never met before. It was hard work. There were misunderstandings that nearly became disasters. There were moments when Danny thought the whole thing would collapse into violence and hatred, but somehow, day by day, progress happened. They offered things the humans needed. They had technology that humans had never seen before, devices that could purify water in seconds, machines that could heal wounds faster than any human medicine. They offered their knowledge of the stars, maps of regions that human ships had never explored. They offered the strength of their warriors and the speed of their in exchange for help and partnership. The humans offered things they needed just as badly. They offered land in the northern plains, territory that no human had claimed, where they could build a permanent settlement for the first time in generations. They offered access to the abundant water resources that made 442B so valuable. They offered friendship and acceptance to a people who had known nothing but wandering and loss. The negotiations took 3 weeks. Danny was there for all of them, standing beside, speaking for both peoples when words failed and trust faltered. He watched as the chief and the colonial governor signed an agreement that would change the future of this world forever. Humans and would share 442B. They would help each other. They would be allies. Through it all, Danny grew closer. They spent hours together every day, talking about everything and nothing. He learned about her childhood wandering the stars, about the friends she had lost, about the dreams she had for the future. She learned about his life on Earth before the colony, about Emma and the love they had shared, about the loneliness that had consumed him after she died. They were so different in so many ways. She came from a culture of warriors and hunters. He came from a culture of farmers and builders. She had 4 fingers and blue skin and eyes that glowed in the darkness. He was human in every ordinary way. But somehow, despite all of that, they understood each other. One evening, after a particularly difficult day of negotiations, found Danny sitting alone on his porch, watching the sun go down. She sat beside him without speaking, close enough that he could feel the warmth of her body. "I was scared when my father told me I would be given to a human," she said finally. "I did not know what to expect. I thought maybe you would be cruel. Maybe you would not want me. Maybe I would be alone forever, far from my people, married to a stranger who could never understand me." Danny nodded slowly. "I was scared too. I did not want a wife. I did not want anyone. After Emma died, I just wanted to be alone." "And now?" Danny looked at her. The fading light made her blue skin glow like the sky at twilight. Her golden eyes were soft, uncertain, hopeful. "Now I am glad you are here," he said. "I do not know what this is between us. I do not know if it is love or friendship or just 2 lonely people finding comfort in each other. But I am glad you are here. I am glad I am not alone anymore." reached out and took his hand. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. A month later, they held a ceremony to seal the alliance formally. Danny stood before the assembled tribe, wearing robes that had made for him by hand. The chief spoke words of welcome and blessing. Now fully healed, stood beside her father with pride shining in her eyes. Then came forward. She carried a small pot of ceremonial paint, the same silver and gold that had been on her face when Danny first saw her. Slowly, carefully, she painted symbols on his cheeks and forehead. The markings tingled as they dried on his skin. "Now you are," she said quietly. "Now you are family. Now you are ours and we are yours forever." Danny took a cup of water that had been prepared for this moment. He lifted it high so everyone could see. Then he offered it too. The way she had told him was traditional, the way that carried the deepest meaning in culture. "I give you water," he said, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. "I give you life. I give you everything I have. We are one family now, human and together." Took the cup and drank. When she finished, she offered it back to Danny and he drank the rest. The tribe erupted in cheers and song. They roared their approval. And in the middle of it all, Danny felt something he had not felt in years. He felt like he belonged. The months passed. The settlement grew in the northern plains, a new city rising from empty land. Humans and worked side by side, building homes and schools and hospitals. Danny's farm became a meeting place, a bridge between the two communities, a symbol of what cooperation could achieve. Danny and built their life together too. It was not always easy. They argued sometimes. They misunderstood each other. They had to learn new ways of living and loving that neither of them had known before. But they kept trying. They kept talking. They kept choosing each other day after day. One morning, almost a year after the first arrived, Danny woke before dawn. He walked out to his porch and watched the first light spread across the plains. In the distance, he could see the settlement, its strange and beautiful buildings catching the early sun. Closer by, the that had brought with her lay sleeping near the barn, its 6 legs twitched as it dreamed of running. Came out to join him, carrying 2 cups of water. She handed one to Danny and kept one for herself. It was a ritual they had developed, a way of starting each day together, a small echo of the act that had brought them together in the first place. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Danny sipped his water and considered the question. He thought about, injured and terrified, lying in the dirt behind his tanks. He thought about the choice he had made to help her, not knowing what it would cost or what it would bring. He thought about everything that had followed, the fear and the hope and the love and the change. "I am thinking about water," he said finally. Smiled, her golden eyes warm in the morning light. "What about water?" "I am thinking about how strange it is. I gave water to a stranger because she was thirsty. That is all. I did not think about rewards or alliances or anything else. I just saw someone who needed help and I helped. And that is why my people honor you," said. "That is why I love you, because you help without thinking of reward, because you are kind without wanting anything in return. This is what makes humans special. This is what my people saw in you, what they hoped to find in all your kind." Danny put his arm around her shoulders and pulled her close. She leaned into him, her body warm against his in the cool morning air. "I used to think kindness was weakness," he admitted. "After Emma died, I closed myself off from everyone. I thought if I did not care about anyone, I could not be hurt again. And now—" Danny looked at the world spread out before him. The farm that had once been his prison was now his home. The loneliness that had once crushed him had been replaced by love and purpose and hope. The cup of water he had given to a dying stranger had become a river that carried him to a new life. "Now I know that kindness is the strongest thing there is," he said. "It can change everything. It can heal old wounds and build new bridges and turn strangers into family. It costs nothing and it is worth everything." Raised her cup, Danny raised his. They touched the cups together gently, a soft sound in the quiet morning. To kindness, said. To water, Danny replied. They drank together as the sun rose over a world where two peoples had become one. And somewhere in the distance, children laughed and played, human and together, the future that a single act of mercy had made possible. It had started with water given to a stranger. It had become something no one could have imagined, and it was only the beginning.